It feels like just the other day the United States government released the much-anticipated Pentagon UFO report, which went on to investigate a number of unidentified aerial phenomena that had been sighted across the continent. But as it turns out, America isn't the only country that has a high report rate when it comes to possible aliens in the sky. India itself, for example, has also been a hotspot for unidentified flying objects for decades now. So what do we know about the history of UFO sightings across the country, and what conclusions have the citizens of the land drawn when witnessing these various incidents? Well, whether you're a believer or want to know more about the strange things that have been seen in the country over the years, stay right where you are, as we're about to take a look at why many people believe aliens have visited India in the past. So strap yourselves in and get ready for a bumpy ride, as things are about to get interesting. But before we get into it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss out on any of the new videos we post. The designation of something as a UFO. First things first though, let's start by actually looking at what is meant by the term UFO, as this designation has been pretty misleading over the past couple of years. For those of you who don't know, UFO is an abbreviated term that stands for unidentified flying object, and has been used by many to refer to unexplainable incidences that may very well be visiting alien life forms. In essence though, the designation has little to nothing to do with aliens at all, and merely points to something mysterious in the sky for which there appears to be no orthodox scientific explanation. And it's because of the misleading nature of this designation that the United States government decided to drop the term and replace it with that of UAP, which stands for Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon. No longer is it the case that we look up in the sky and think that something unidentified is most certainly an object that is flying. We now know that there are quite a few scientific phenomena out there that are unknown to the general public, and seeing these things in the sky shouldn't bring with it the assumption that they are objects flying through the sky. Hence the change from UFO to UAP. It's a small change that has shown just how much science has changed the world. Or if you believe in the conspiracy theories surrounding the topic, the change may very well be the government trying to cover these visitations up, similar to how they covered up the alleged crash at Roswell, New Mexico. What you choose to believe is completely up to you though, so let's take a look at the different sightings in India and see whether we fall on one side of the conspiracy theorists or the other. Number 1, the cigar-shaped object of New Delhi. One of the earliest instances of apparent alien contact in India was back in 1951, which saw members of the New Delhi Flying Club witnessing an object that looked similar to a cigar hurling itself through the air. The object, as they described it, seemed to appear out of nowhere in the sky near the New Delhi Club hangar, but then disappeared quickly in the swirl of a white cloud. While this initial sighting was only witnessed by a few people, close to 20 individuals were called to look at what had been going on. And according to reports, each and every one of these New Delhi Flying Club members saw the object in all its glory. After reappearing, the UFO headed south for about 3 minutes, after which it made an apparent loop and headed back towards the hangar over a large field. We saw an apparent loop as it disappeared from sight when it moved upwards, but then reappeared once it had dove through the cloud cover once more. Surprisingly enough, this instance is more than just a myth. It was reported to the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena, as it is now called, who went on to describe the speed of the object as being 3 times greater than the cruising speed of a British Vampire jet, which is pretty damn fast. That being said, we didn't know much about the world in 1951, and there is no video or photographic evidence to back up what was seen by these individuals back on that fateful day. So we'd have to say that things are still quite inconclusive when it comes to alien visitations in India. Number 2, the Speedy sighting in Kolkata. Later sightings of UAPs came with the advent of the 21st century though. Alien chasers were annoyed that nobody seemed to believe the crazy things they had been seeing, so when technology advanced and allowed for the filming and photographing of phenomena, the community went absolutely wild, presenting the world with what many referred to as evidence of otherworldly experiences. On the 29th of October 2017, for example, an alleged object was identified in eastern Kolkata and was said to be moving with a speed never seen before. The witness on the scene quickly took out a handycam and filmed what was being seen, which appeared to be a bright light resembling a halo of sorts. Since alien spacecrafts are always depicted as circular, spinning objects, this seemed to be actual proof that foreign beings were visiting Kolkata for some or other reason. And surprisingly enough, this craft went on to stay in the sky for the entire night, causing a number of citizens to gather along the EM bypass so that they could catch a glimpse of what was said to be a UFO. But this was far from an unidentified flying object. First of all, it wasn't flying but was rather stuck in the gravitational orbit of the sun. And secondly, it wasn't unidentified. In fact, scientists later identified the object as none other than Venus, which is the second planet from the sun. This is a great example of why the term UFO was later dropped and replaced by UAP, although we suppose that Venus would still fall outside of this definition since aerial doesn't necessarily mean space. Either way though, this little visitation was quickly shown to be nothing more than our planetary sister saying hi. Number 3. The military spotting in Demchok. Once the above incident had been sorted out, quite a few incidences followed, much of which were described as mysterious objects that disappeared as quickly as they'd appeared. A few years earlier though, on the 4th of August 2013, the Indian Army appeared to have a little sighting of their own. According to the official report, Army officials who were protecting an outpost in Ladakh spotted a number of UFOs over the sea, which is in the border of Demchok area. This wasn't the only time this had happened though. As in the preceding 7 months, more of these unidentified objects were seen over the border area in Arunachal Pradesh. The fact that there were quite a few of the objects in the sky at the time set the armed forces on high alert, fearing that an alien invasion was imminent. But like the many times before and after this phenomenon was witnessed, the objects then disappeared just as quickly as they had appeared. Did the Indian Army see aliens on that very night? Well, unfortunately for us, there's no video footage to confirm or deny what they actually saw. That being said, it's not like there isn't a scientific explanation for it. Many astrophysicists have said that while these phenomena were being experienced by the armed forces, the Earth was experiencing a large amount of space debris in the form of both asteroids and meteors. We aren't talking about something the size of what we see in Armageddon starring Bruce Willis, of course, but you get where we're coming from. When rocks and other material enter the atmosphere of the Earth, they start to glow due to the massive amount of heat that the friction of our atmosphere has on them. Remember, there is no air in space, but the same can't be said for the atmosphere of our beautiful planet. In other words, this would explain why smaller objects such as these would burn brightly in the night sky, making the armed forces believe that aliens had arrived. The disappearance of these objects is then described by the very same process. As they're burning bright due to the force of friction, they start disappearing, with the fuel literally fueling the fire burning up on the entry. When that fuel is all gone, the object either stops glowing or has completely dismantled due to the forces acting upon it. In other words, it's more likely that the armed forces witnessed a meteor shower on those 2 occasions. But like we mentioned earlier, we didn't see this with our own eyes, so that is just one explanation for what it could have been. Have aliens visited India? So much like the Pentagon UFO report, we have to conclude that there is no conclusive evidence that aliens ever visited India. Regardless of the many examples of UFOs being seen across the country over the last few decades, we also can't say for sure that aliens haven't visited our home world though, as that wouldn't be very scientific of us at all. You see, scientific thinking is the process of considering all possibilities and never ruling a single one out. We then process the information before us and draw a conclusion based on what is more probable. Could aliens have visited India on the occasions we just discussed? Most certainly. But is it more likely that citizens were witnessing phenomena or objects they didn't quite understand? We'd say so. As human beings, we love to live in an ordered world, after all. We saw how mythical thinking shaped the lives of ancient Grecians, for example. We believed that thunderstorms meant that Zeus was unhappy with what we were doing. But there are better ways to order the world than to believe in the conspiracy theory that the government is hiding UFO sightings from us. With the sheer number of amateur astrophysicists and stargazers out there, there's no doubt that someone would have found conclusive evidence by now. But what do you think? Feel free to let us know in the comments section down below.